You wouldn't carry a Glock in a Crown Royal bag, would you? No, I wouldn't either. If your carry holster feels like a medieval torture device, or it flops around like a fish out of water, this video is for you. Hey guys, Jeremy with Tennessee Firearms Training out here today working on episode 4 for the Blueprint for Concealed Carry series that we're in. I appreciate everybody that's given feedback and tuned in for the previous episodes. If you haven't, those are on our YouTube channel. Man, we're building out the playlist, and I encourage you to go check those out. But we're on episode 4, and this is perfect timing because people were starting to ask questions about holsters. This is a 12-part series, and episode 4 just happened to be on holsters. Good timing with those questions, guys, so I appreciate that. So we're going to talk today about what makes a good holster. We're going to demystify what makes the holster work for concealed carry. What's the goods, the bads, and then we're going to talk about what's a bad holster and why it's more than just a bad holster. It's dangerous. So let's dive right in. And really just kind of focus on 3 elements as we go through this list. The 3 elements would be the idea here is for a good holster to be mission critical for safe, fast, consistent concealed carry. Make sense? We want it to be safely on us. We want to be able to get to it safely. We want to be able to access it fast, and we want to be able to access it consistently. So let's dive right into what makes a good holster for that. Retention. Retention being number 1. Does it hold on to the gun and keep the gun where I want it on my body? That's huge. Make sure you got a holster that's got some adjustable retention screws. I got to tell y'all, for concealed carry, the civilian market, friction is king. I know there's other retention devices you have to defeat on, duty rigs and things like that, little buttons you have to push. Those are all cool, but I'm telling you, for concealed carry, for the civilian, friction is king, and to be able to control that friction with retention screws is huge. So don't spend too much time there other than make sure your holster can hold on to the gun. If you can shake it out or knock it out or fall to the ground and it falls out, the bad guy can absolutely make that happen to you. So, and make that happen to your gun. So don't do that. The next thing on the list, the number 2 on the list would be we've got to have clear, consistent coverage of the trigger guard. I don't want something that sometimes covers it and the gun's sitting in there wobbly or different. No, I want it to be sitting in the holster the same way every time, covering that trigger guard. It's non-negotiable. It must cover that trigger guard. Otherwise, you're talking about a super costly mistake that could cost you your life by an accidental discharge because something got down in the trigger guard area because it wasn't properly covered, or it could be something where you just have to buy new shoes. I don't know. I don't want you to have to buy new shoes or new pants, whatever, but that's a bad thing to have happen when it was preventable if you just had a good quality holster. Number 3 on the list, ride height and cant. Okay, ride height and cant. What am I talking about here? How deep or how high is the holster sitting and carrying on you? All these areas. If it's too high, typically what we see happen is people will bend over and they'll pop back up and their belt will flip a different way or something, and the gun actually spills out this way and pushes out a certain way because the gun was riding too high. If the gun is in too deep in the pants, that doesn't necessarily allow for a good purchase on the gun. I want to be able to establish my master grip. Again, I want to be able to have a fast and consistent and safe holster draw. If I'm having to stage the gun, like get down and pop it a little bit out of the holster so then I can get a good grip, that's adding an extra step. That's not fast, and that's not going to accomplish what you need out of it, right? If you're going for your gun, you're probably going to need to get to it fairly quickly and the same way every time, right? That's the goal. So ride height, cant is important. The cant part of it, if it's an outside the waistband or even if it's inside the waistband, I'll use this blue one here for an example. You can see if I hold this gun, if I'm holding this holster straight, you can see the clip on it is canted to the side to force that when I put it in my pants and on my belt, it's going to cant forward to where I have a forward draw motion. That's not as important for me because I carry appendix now and I really just have the gun sitting pretty close to straight up. Anybody carrying to the side or something like that, maybe you do want to can it. And I have seen guys that like to cant their appendix carry rig a certain way. Again, they're finding what's good and works for them. As long as it is safe, fast, and consistent, then I don't have a problem with them canting up here. It's up to you. But the adjustable cant is kind of a cool element to your holster. A lot of these holsters have the ability to do that. This one does not actually. This one is only like that. That's where the screws are set and there's no other extra holes for it. So you may want to consider that when looking for a good quality holster, right? The next one would be the material it's made out of. Material is very important. I said friction is king. Now we're moving on to the next king in this element of concealed carry, and that would be Kydex over leather. And I'm not talking about Kydex, you know, covering or holding the gun and then a leather backing to make it comfortable in the waistband. I'm not talking about those. Those are perfectly fine. I'm talking about the ones that are all leather and then can be mashed and pressed, and really you can fold them up any way you want because they've lost their ability to hold on to what's in there. If I had the revolver that belongs in this, it used to hold the revolver good. I tip it upside down now, the revolver falls right out of it. There's no retention on this. That's what eventually happens to leather holsters. They collapse in, they're mashable. It's just not good. There's other holsters. This one's got kind of a suede, sticky texture to it, meant for that in the waistband carry, that the holster will stay there and the gun just comes out. That sucks for reholstering because you got to take this out again, reholster it, and then mash it back down in the pants. I'm not a fan of these. The retention on them, again, sucks. It's basing all the retention solely on your belt. And I would rather have my belt helping the situation, yes, but also have a holster that I can adjust that to as needed. So that's a cool thing. By the way, if you have those little back up for a moment on these retention screws, check those from time to time. They will wear themselves loose. Loctite them in and just check on them from time to time. That's just good maintenance on your EDC stuff, right? The next element here, we talked about the Kydex is king. I've talked about the material. Don't spend too much time on investigating, looking into other materials. Truly focus and get a Kydex holster that fits your gun model. That is truly the most important part of that piece of the puzzle, right? The next one would be attachment, the way it attaches to your belt. We got one with a big plastic clip here. We've got belt loops that are fixed to where you have to take your belt on and off in order to put this type of holster on. It holds it good and tight to you. I don't mind that at all. All that I ask is it's something that is actually reliable. What is not reliable? I have seen these type of clips that I just showed you on both these holsters. I'll show you on these two because these two holsters were purchased on eBay. These big plastic clips, I've seen them get worked in such a way, and they after so much wear and tear that they start to get, you know when you fold plastic, it's kind of that white crease in there a little bit, and it starts to actually come apart or even break or not hold its shape real good anymore, and it just stays flexed out like that. You got to pay attention to that as well. I like the metal clips. This one, even though it's a crappy holster, the metal clip is actually awesome. It's a shame that they spent all their money on a metal clip and then couldn't design a good holster around it. Same thing goes for this leather guy. It's got a great metal clip, good, sturdy, strong. It will hold its place, but the rest of the holster sucks. If it's a reputable company putting out plastic clips, like I've got a carry rig that uses these plastic clips, 2 of them, and they work great. Just be mindful of what you've spent on that holster. You may be buying garbage. So be mindful of that. Spend a little bit of the extra money. Don't go in there and be like 30 bucks, 30 bucks. It'll get you this. I'll give you an example. This was an eBay purchase, 30 bucks. There's a few reasons why this never made it out of the house into my concealed carry rep. It just drove me nuts. I got the gun and immediately the first thing I noticed was the trigger guard is not fully, in fact, the holster even flares open right here for some unknown reason and does not fully touch or cover the trigger guard. It leaves it pretty open. You can see these huge gaps here. Not a fan of that at all. That was a turnoff. And then no matter how much I tighten the retention, it drops the gun. This one failed. 30 bucks on eBay. Don't do it. Bad idea. Moving on, carry holster positions. I mentioned this in previous videos. I'm highlighting it again here. Please don't do this. If you buy a holster that is meant for 3 o'clock position or hip carry, don't move this to small of the back. Just don't. It doesn't belong there. It's not meant for that. The cant on it is even not even set up for that. Like that. If you buy a holster that's meant for appendix, use it for appendix. If you buy a holster that's all it says is it's an IWB in the waistband, you can probably move that around probably more than half your body. The other thing to consider with that, as I mentioned in those carry positions, is be able to get to the gun safe, fast, and consistent, and you need to be able to do that with your opposite hand. Can you do that? Look, I got short arms. I'm not going to lie. I can't do it. I can't get to, I have to make sure that I can get to that gun with either or, because this hand might not be available to get to my gun. My dominant hand might be doing something else, and I need to get to the gun with this hand. Those are just some consideration, guys. That's what makes a good quality holster. This is some things that if you get, look, we've all been there. We've had 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 holsters in a drawer, all meant for one gun, and you end up settling in on one of them. And then you've got 9 other holsters just taking up space in a drawer. I get it. We've all been there. Hopefully, this video kind of helps you out with that. Spend the money. Do not go buy 5 or 6 $30 to $40 holsters. Spend the extra money. You're going to get what you pay for. I promise you that. Make sure it's a good, reputable company. If you need some suggestions on holsters, you can contact me through the channel or our social media and send me an email, something like that. And I got some holsters that I can recommend to you. And experience with the holsters that I recommend as well, both in IDPA matches and just range work out here at the range. My concealed carry rig, we can talk about that too in those separately. But I appreciate you guys tuning in. Guys, let me know what your carry rig's like. You know, were you considering these things? Were some of these things maybe you just forgot about or not thinking about when you were actually trying to find a good holster? Let me know in the comments. And then, of course, if you like the content, please like, share, and subscribe. You guys are helping us continue to grow the channel. Greatly appreciate that. We've got good classes coming up, man. Get in a class soon. Train hard, train safe. Jeremy, Middle Tennessee Firearms Train. Hope to see you on the range soon.